All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the work session for the City Council at 6 p.m. today on March the 25th. And we have the awesome Pflugerville Police Department before us to give their presentation. You're going to give us something good, Chief?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, good. Floor is yours.
Thank you for that great introduction. Thank you for allowing us to be here. With me, I have Commander Makiba Lewis, Commander Jared Tyson, Commander Tricia Maribel. They are my bodyguards today. So if there are any issues, please see them.
Okay, will do.
We'll be going through, we have a few slides. I want to take you through some of the departments that we have within PD. But I do want to start with our staffing. So currently we're at 92 full-time officers with 2 cadets. We are currently we have 5 current openings for police officers, but we have approximately 8 people that are going through backgrounds already. So they've already passed their physical portion of the test. They've passed their written portion, and so just going through backgrounds. I will say that we are very, very particular about who we hire here. As you know, this police department, the reputation of the police department in the community is such that we do not hire just anybody that applies. We get hundreds of applications throughout the year, and only a handful make it. So of the 8 or so that are still in, once they're done through background, we'll go ahead and make that determination.
Chief, what do you attribute the increase in demand for positions in Pflugerville from the outside world to?
So I think there's a couple things. One is the culture of the police department. We're very close. All of us at this table are very close with some of the other agencies across Central Texas. And I can tell you that just our neighbors to the north, south, east, and west are struggling to find officers. Some of them have 15 openings. Our neighbor to the north in Georgetown has 15 openings. Our neighbors over out west a little bit in Leander has 12 openings. We do have 5, and we did have a few that left the department recently. But we have never been in that situation where we were, at least even when I was here, we were at 10, 12, 15 officers. So one, it's the culture. And I firmly believe it's the family atmosphere that we have here in Pflugerville. It's a family atmosphere that our command staff portrays with our officers. But then the second thing, and this is the biggest, and I know you've all heard me say this before, it's the support that we get from the city council. As we can see we can turn on TV, we can see other police agencies where their city council is berating their police department. They're not working with them. They're not giving them the proper tools, the proper training. We don't have that problem here with any of you on this dais. And so that is also another reason why when people start asking about where should I work, where should I go, and we're talking from laterals to people who don't have any experience. I actually got a text today from someone that asked about our cadet program. It is because of the reputation that we actually have in the area. So
our department is about the same size as Georgetown and Leander?
Yes. Leander, we're bigger than Leander.
2 or 3 times as many vacancies?
So us here in Pflugerville, Leander, and Georgetown are roughly the same size. All of us are carrying about 100 police officers. Round Rock is obviously more. And then Leander is about 70 officers or so, 60 to 70, roughly. So we're all fairly in same size.
Round Rock is about
220.
50% bigger than we are?
Twice as
Oh, their
Twice
police
the size.
force
Yeah.
is more than double the size.
220. They have 220 officers.
That's 220 sworn,
Yes,
and
sir.
we have authorized 102?
101.
101.
Yes, sir.
Currently authorized sworn officers.
Yep.
Okay.
Could you tell me, do we put cadets through the academy through CapCog?
We do. We currently have 2 cadets in CapCog right now.
Okay.
They're set to graduate in July, and that is something new that we started here at PD since I've been here. In the past, we would only take lateral police officers or someone who's already been certified through the state. We started with city employees first, is what our first class was. Commander Maribel started a recruiting program within the city of, hey, is there anyone that works in public works? Is there anyone that works wherever throughout the city that would like to be a police officer but doesn't have maybe the money to put themselves through an academy? So that was where we started, and we ended up getting 2 officers. One was a dispatcher that came over to the police side, and the other one was a lifeguard. And that lifeguard, Daniel Tran, is also one of our first Vietnamese police officers, but he's also a lifelong resident of Pflugerville. So by opening it up to the inside of our own employees was very successful. From there, we decided that we would try to open it up to the outside and bring in those outsiders. But I can tell you that the selection process for that is very, very hard to make that through, because we don't want to make the investment in that person to send them through for a 9-month academy, and then once they get out for those 9 months. So after these 2 cadets could graduate in July, they still have another 3-month internal academy before they even hit FTO. So we're looking at almost a year before we finally see them on the street.
But we are willing to sponsor them through the academy,
yes, sir.
If we find
Absolutely.
the right folks.
100%.
Awesome. Glad to hear that.
You talked about tools, and I know you have a drone, and I've just read this week that New York City is implementing a program where they're going to be sending drones ahead of officers in response to 911 calls.
So
is that something that you've looked at?
Yes, sir. So that is called DFR, or Drones for First Response. And so right now we know that Bee Cave, the city of Bee Cave, is testing that now. So their drones it's really cool technology, and we as a city aren't there yet. Our drone, yes, we are, and you'll see that as we go through as our looking forward. Our drone is on order, our first drone, and once we get that in and we can make sure that we know how to operate and we're getting good, then our next step would be DFR, Drone for First Response. So that those drones would be placed strategically through the city. And so if we got a burglary call at, say, just let's say right across the street in Walmart, that drone will take off from its location to Walmart, and now it's streaming live feed into our officers' vehicles so they can see who the person is, where the car is going, and whatnot. So it is something that we would like to look at for the future, but we got to get through our first drone.
So the idea of DFR is to increase officer safety, but also to make it more likely to apprehend suspects. Is that
yes.
correct?
Or also for a missing person. For that fact, a missing person, we get the call at someone at the lake and their child, they can't find their child. Those drones are up and already searching off a description that we're getting from our phone, from the 911 calls.
I have a question about turnover. Like, how many officers a year, or how many positions are you filling?
So it's funny, I actually talked to Robbie, our director in P+C. Last year, we had a turnover rate of about 8%. So, which is very low for a police department. And that 8% was also due to some disciplinary problems. It is very rare if we get someone to leave here for another agency. That is not the norm. If we have someone that leaves or we have that turnover rate, it is because of a disciplinary issue where they're terminated. It's, like I said, it's not because they're going to go say, hey, I want to go work at Georgetown. No one says that. I'll be the first. No one says, hey, we're going to leave Pflugerville and go to Austin. No. We actually have Austin people that come here. So, like I said, the main turnover, well, I take that back. We had someone that went to pilot school. We did have someone that left to go to pilot school. So we do have those one-offs. A career change. But no one, I can tell you that no one is leaving here to go be a cop somewhere else.
Yeah.
It is too good here in the city.
So, Chief O'Malley, is this your oblique way of asking for a helicopter? Because we could have kept that guy.
Sir, I can tell you that last year, one other council member at Retreat promised 2 helicopters for PD, but I won't bring that up again.
Well, we had a plane once, and
We did. That was before my time. I heard about the plane, but we do have a landing pad in the back of the police department, Miss City Manager.
It's spray painted. No, it's not.
I do want to talk about some of our outreach successes, at least that we call success. So our Community Police Academy last year, we graduated 34 people, and that is one of the biggest graduating classes that we've had since the inception of the program. program. And that, and you all know Carl. Carl is our community services specialist, and Carl is just invaluable to this police department. After working for 25 years with Travis County and us being able to take him here, especially when he spent his entire life here, has been a game changer for this police department when it comes to community outreach. So the police academy that Carl ran to National Night Out, we had over 3,000 participants. Blue Santa, that I know a lot of you join us at, over 345 children served. But then also we're attending our iftar dinners. We're doing coffee with the cop. This year we did pancakes with the police. The year before, if you remember, was popsicles with the police. So this is Carl's doing, and all of us, but Carl spearheads all of that, where we're just out in the community. We're trying to make sure that, you know, when our children in the community see us, that it's just not because of we're a call for service or they're getting, it's a traffic stop. We want to be seen in a different light, right? And so right now we're in our cool moves. So our officers all have their certificates. So when they see the children out in the neighborhoods, if they're walking their bike across the street or wearing helmets, our officers are stopping and giving them free ice cream, giving them a voucher for free ice cream. So we're in the process of that right now, now that we're getting into summer.
And that program goes from spring through early fall?
We can do it all year long, but it's mainly a summer thing because, of course, more people are out in the summer and we're seeing the children out, especially this past week with spring break. So, but yeah. So,
Chief, keep in mind, one of your next events could be barbecue at the Bobbies.
Are you going to host that, Mayor? Sure. At your house? I would gladly
So they do
come.
my pierogies with the police, so.
Chicken with the chief. That was another one.
There we go.
That was another one.
We were
Do
talking
you-
about something in the evenings, yeah. Come up with a.
Do you have specific outreach to like the teenage population, you know, especially with, you know, the increase in fentanyl and other issues with
We
the high
do.
schoolers?
I mean, we also, and just so you all know, we also try to partner with our ISD, right? So you will also oftentimes, especially on our social media, you'll see our officers that are in the schools, along with our ISD officers. When it's the littles, they're in there reading stories and whatnot with the littles. But then when we get into the junior high and the high school, yes, we're trying to interact with them as much as we can as well. You know, the popsicles with the police and the pizza with the police and all that. We're counting on those families to also bring their teens out with us. So we try our best with our outreach in the schools to grab those teens.
Does the school outreach include coordinating with the ROTC programs?
I don't know if we've ever worked specifically with ROTC.
I'm just thinking that maybe some of those kids might be kids who could conceivably be candidates for the academy later.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. I want to talk about some of our accomplishments, just at a glance, that we had back in 2024. As you all know, our LPR cameras, our flock, is one of our greatest inventions in my opinion. So we did receive additional grant funding for flock. This is our 4th year in a row that we received the grant funding for that. Also, our gang intel operations and our mission-oriented policing, we have a grant for that. And we also, in 2024, received a mental health outreach grant through the state. Now, that is something that we're working on behind the scenes now, and I cannot wait to roll that out. And just for a quick glance, what that is we are going to have a licensed clinician that is assigned to our police department 7 days a week.
Wow.
It is also giving our dispatchers the ability, training, and the ability to triage calls as they come in. So they are dealing with a mental health professional as opposed to having an officer show up at a house to escalate a scene. So these are all things that are in the works. We're almost there. We're still working with the state. We're still working with Integral Care. We're also working with Cross Creek, where we're going to have beds available. So if when we were able to have a person that was having a mental health crisis, right now our officers are calling around. Our dispatchers are calling this hospital, that hospital. Do you have a bed? Do you not have a bed? With Cross Creek and this grant, we are going to have dedicated space for Pflugerville. So if any of our community members are having this episode, we can get them into this hospital and get them the help that they need.
It's a big deal.
It is a huge deal.
I'm so glad we're doing the
Mayor
work
Pro Tem, it's
session so
huge.
I can act up now and not later. It's a really, really big deal. And so I'm glad that Pflugerville is leading the way. it's everything. And so I thank you for making mental health a priority, for making sure that your officers are trained properly, and for going after the grants and the programs that serve our people well. Because it does matter who shows up at the front door, what hidden biases they may be bringing with them. So I thank you for sending the very best to the doors. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We've also expanded our digital forensics unit, which is, and we'll get into that when we get into our internet crimes against children, but our digital forensics unit is the ability for us here to take someone's phone from a search warrant and download that phone, dump that phone, for lack of a better word, and to be able to recover evidence. It's also for when we have a major collision, we're able to download the vehicle's infotainment system that tells us how fast you were traveling. Did you brake? Did you not brake? Did you say you were wearing a seatbelt, but you weren't wearing a seatbelt? All of that gets processed through our digital forensics unit, and we are expanding that. And we're also seeing now that we're also getting asked by other agencies to try to help them out as well.
How many people do we have in the digital forensics?
One. We have one person
Who works really hard.
He works his butt off, and you know, we also take advantage of a lot of the training that's given by the federal government. The Secret Service gives us a lot of training, and it's all free. So when we send our detective to these trainings, they're paying for hotel, airfare, per diem. They pay for everything, and when they come back, they're coming back with equipment. So like the cables to plug into a car to download an infotainment system from a vehicle that would cost $40,000, by sending him to this training, we got those for free. So when we say we're expanding those capabilities, that's what we're doing. We're sending our detectives off, and we're getting that in return. So it's been great. And Jared is over CID, Commander Tyson's over criminal investigations now, and Jared is always looking for these training opportunities, especially the free ones. Those are the ones that we really like. But we're doing a really good job with on the digital forensic side.
So you mentioned the Federal Secret Service there. Are most of the grants that you're getting state grants, or most of them are federal, or how are they mixed up?
We are getting both. We are getting state and federal grants. So our FLOC grant is a federal grant. It falls under Project Safe Neighborhood. So that's a federal grant, where our gang intel grant, that came from the state. The mental health grant came from the state. But then others that we've had before, our drug testing capability, that came from the federal side. So we'll go after any. When I first came here, we did not write many grants. That was a big thing from where I came from. So it's funny, everyone at this table here has wrote multiple grants now. We know how to go out and look for them. We know how to properly run a grant and report on a grant. So I think that is the reason why you've seen over the last few years is that we've been getting more, is because we're learning the tips and tricks on how to apply, and then make it successful so we get it again. The 4-year grant from Project Safe Neighborhood, I will tell you that that's unheard of. In my 26 years of law enforcement and having dealt with Project Safe Neighborhood grants back in Chicago, it is normally a 2-year grant. We're in year 4, and the reason why is because of the success of the grant, and that was what we were told by the grant administrator. So as long as we continue to have success, they're going to continue to give us the money. So the last thing on this page I do want to point out is that we did screen all of our police officers here. We gave them the opportunity to have a health screening by one of the more accomplished heart surgeons in the area. I just 45% of officers under the age of 45 has had a heart attack. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that officers, because I will tell you, I'll be the first to say, no, I'm okay. I'm not going to go to the doctor. I'm not going to get checked out. It's just, I have chest pains. It's going to go away. Well, those are the chest pains that we wanted to make sure that our officers were being seen for. So we also were able to test our officers this year. So,
Did anyone go on to further medical treatment?
So yes, so I don't have exactly who. Of course,
don't want
that's
to know
all HIPAA, right? And even we, as a city, didn't get that information. But we do know that there were officers that were referred for additional testing.
That's very important. Just before I got here, I saw on Facebook a picture of my uncle, who is right now recovering from a quadruple bypass. He's just a few years older than I am, but it's very, very, very important.
So moving on, what you'll see here is these are our calls for service. And what we did is we compared for our calls for service from this year to last year. You know, there is something I wanted to point out when I seen this, right? Like, our calls for service kind of remain the same, right? We're about a 2% difference. Citations of warnings about a 6%, right? Like, we're kind of all in the vicinity. I wanted to point out, though, that what we've been seeing, and those are the calls that we're going on today are more complex, right? So before, our officer went on the scene for an EDP, an emotionally disturbed person, right? The training that we have now, we're spending more time on those calls. It's not just we're showing up, we're saying, hey, this dude needs help or this one needs help and we're out. We're actually spending more time. The laws change when it comes to domestic violence. There's now more paperwork that we have to fill out when we go to a family violence call. So the calls are becoming more complex. But the reason why I bring that up is because I also want to point out that the training that our officers receive and the training budget that we have that is approved by all of you is what helps us to continue to get with the times, right? To continue to change the way that we police. And so I appreciate that. I truly do. It's invaluable. And again, that goes back to why we have police officers that want to come here and not somewhere else. It all falls on the same. But I just wanted to bring that up to you all.
Chief, based on those misdemeanor and felony arrests,
Yes, sir.
off the top of your head, I mean, if you don't know it, it's fine. How many of those were because of pending warrants?
Dude, off the top of my head, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but having Flock, right, having the LPR systems throughout the city, which will alert an officer when there is someone driving that vehicle that has a warrant, right? I don't have the exact numbers, but I mean, all of that would fall into.
No. Just it's always good to tell people, look, hey, sometimes we have to arrest them.
Yes.
You know?
Well, I'm curious on those numbers. I mean, the felony arrests there are down dramatically. That's what, almost a 20% increase in felony arrests. Are we seeing some element of deterrence now? Are people? Someone used to tell me, "Oh, I see a police car anytime I'm in Pflugerville. There must be plenty of crime there." I'm like, "No, if you see the police car, that means there's not the crime. They're out and about. They're not responding." Are we seeing some deterrence in some of the things we're doing? Is that why we see fewer felony arrests?
I would like to think that. I would like to think that it is because obviously our presence that is out there. We encourage our officers to be seen, and that's what we want to hear. We want to hear that, you know, even with you all as you traverse the city, you're seeing police officers driving around. Of course, they're going to pull over and they're going to type their reports out or they're going to do whatever they need to do, but we encourage our officers to be inside of the neighborhoods, inside of the subdivisions, be seen. We encourage them to get out of their vehicles and talk to the businesses at Stonehill, all over. So I would like to think that is the reason why, but you know, and I talked with Commander Tyson about this. We don't know, right? Like, we have to wait till next year and see what happens next year. Why was there less felonies this year? But we went up almost or just over 10% on our misdemeanors, right? So why? I like to think it's because of that, but I don't have an answer as to why or how.
Do you have information about the types of calls for service and if you see any major increases or decreases in a certain area?
So that was something that was going to be coming out here in the next month in our weekly summary. It was something that we were going to put out, and we're going to kind of show where we are from this year compared to last year. So that's going to be coming really soon. We're working on that. They're pulling the stats.
Thank you.
Our crime scene unit. So the person to your right, the second person from the right, that is Sydney. She is one of our crime scene technicians that is now in our Capcog Police Academy. So she has always wanted to be a police officer, started in crime scene, obviously. So they are down to 4 for the moment, but we also did just hire, and that person is starting next week, the new person, so they'll be back up to full strength of 5. But as you can see, 165 investigations that they responded to. If you look at all of the property that they received, 2,879 items of property. So now you have to remember that, just to say we inventory a vehicle, and there's a book bag, there's pens, there's whatever, that all gets inventoried, that all gets processed through our evidence section. So we disposition almost 5,000 items of property, which is also very, very big because of the growth of the city and of how many calls we're getting. So if as long as we're taking in the 2,800 and we're getting rid of 5,000, we're great, right? It's when we can't get rid of those items of property where we start to back up. But they do a really good job. The other thing is the 384 NIBIN cases. So NIBIN is where we enter those rounds into the database, and when we end, so if we find shell casings at a scene and we enter those in, those shell casings are in there for all agencies across the U.S. from Austin, where Austin can say, hey, wait, those match ours, and now we're trying to link cases together or possible suspects. So that is very, very big, and that is
So
something.
Chief, is that like fingerprints, and that way you can match with
Yes,
another
sir.
agency?
Yes, the tool, the markings from that hammer when it hits the primer is unique to each weapon.
Okay.
And so that is what our crime scene unit is checking. And then again, that's what any other police department will look for, those same tool markings.
I have a question. You hear in some other places that there's backlogs of testing and things that are essential to closing cases or getting justice. Do we have any of those issues?
So, yes, the state crime lab is backed up. So any important case or any of our high profile cases, there's workarounds to get our items pushed through. We can use the Rangers to help us push items through, and we've also at times used a private lab to get it pushed through. So if it is a high profile case, yes, we will go to different avenues or go down different avenues to get, so we're not waiting in that 6-month wait, right? If we need DNA and we want it now, like I said, there's other things that we can do. So we really don't have many issues with that, because we'll find another way.
We're not in the same position that Austin has been in the past, where we've had stuff waiting years to get tested.
No.
Okay.
No. Telecommunications, these are our dispatchers. These dispatchers do a fantastic job. Everyone talks about the police officers on the street and them encountering some of the things that they encounter, but to take those phone calls and try to calm someone down enough to get that information so we can get it to our police officers on the street, there's something to be said about all of them that work there. It's a very, very tough job. They're in a bubble. We like to call it a bubble. They're in their dispatch area, and I know you've all seen it. They're back there for 12 hours a day, and they get to look at each other. And so we try to ensure that they're getting their meals, and they're getting coffee, and they're getting everything they need. But the dispatchers are truly the lifeline for our police officers on the street. As you can see, we've gone up, right, with total phone calls. We went, from the 25,600 phone calls this past year, up, 1,300 phone calls. So also our dispatch generated CAD cards went up. So let me explain that. So when a dispatch generated CAD card is a call for service that we're sending out. So if in 2023, we had 24,600, we had 26,000 last year. So those are 1,500 more calls that our officers responded to that dispatch actually sent someone to. Because a lot of times dispatch will get a call to say that their water got turned off. Well, then we'll connect them to the right place. So these were calls that our officers were actually dispatched to. So again, behind the scenes, they work really, really hard.
So most of those non-emergency phone calls do not result in a dispatch?
In a dispatch, correct.
It's okay, well, here, let me connect you to the Public Works Department, or...
That's correct.
Okay.
Or we'll get that 8-year-old that says that his mom won't let him play with his PS5. So we'll get those calls as well. It just all depends. Our criminal investigations division, those are our detectives. They are working hard, as you can see from last year to this year. From the warrants issued to the arrests made, they've almost doubled. So these detectives are, which also includes our digital forensic unit, they are truly, again, working their butts off back there. I cannot say enough about every unit, and when I go through this, you're going to see I'm going to say the same thing about all of them. They're working hard. Investigations is really, really doing a great job, which takes us here. So ICAC, just recently, a few months ago, you all signed off on an MOU with the Attorney General's Office for the Internet Crimes Against Children. This has been huge, something that we didn't participate in before, but with our participation now, some of our detectives are getting specialized training. They're also getting equipment, they're getting computers and whatnot. So 16 reactive investigations, and what that is those are investigations that have been forwarded to us by NCMEC, which is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. NCMEC will send us this, and as long as it has a nexus to Pflugerville, so the city of Pflugerville, including the ETJ, it comes to our police department. You can see that we had 16 child pornography investigations just from NCMEC, along with 5 that we found. So, Jared, can you please just explain real quick about ICAC?
Sure, absolutely. So this goes back to the MOU that y'all authorized us to participate in with the Texas Attorney General's office. And this allows us to follow up on investigations where a perpetrator, suspicious activity where we suspect that a known image of child sexual abuse material has been transacted at some point on the internet, over the phone, something like that. One case study I'd like to highlight, and it's still an open investigation, so I can't go too much into it right now, but we had a young female in Colorado who'd been victimized for several years, where a male had been coercing her into sending sexually explicit images of herself to him. And so she made an outcry to the authorities in Colorado, which prompted an investigation there, which led to a cyber tip to NCMEC, which then led to an assignment to the Attorney General's office, and it was found that the subject was operating in the Pflugerville area. He actually lived in close proximity to Spring Hill Elementary School, and we were able to secure a search warrant, and we arrested him the day that we went out there. Our detectives analyzed his devices, and so far we've located 700 images of known child pornography. We were able to identify 26 victims between the ages of 17 years of age all the way down to 11 years of age. And these victims are from several different states across the country: Kansas, Texas, I believe Oklahoma, several different states, and also several victims outside the United States. I believe that we had one victim who was located in Mexico, one in Canada, and one in Australia. Fortunately, we did not have any victims here in the city of Pflugerville that we've yet identified. However, we still have many more that are unidentified that we believe are in other countries, and so we're working with the Department of Homeland Security and with the FBI to try to liaison with those other countries. So that just goes to show how we have one survivor who's brave enough to speak up and make an outcry to the police, and how this one investigation can help save so many children, not only in our state and our country, but across the world. So we thank y'all for allowing us to participate in this venture.
Our crime intel analyst, we have one, and she, again, I'm going to say it, she works her butt off. So when we're looking for any intel, whether it be for our fest, right? We have Slice of Pflugerville coming up. That's as our next one. So she is already monitoring social media. She's looking for any type of intelligence that might say that we're going to have some type of violence, anything like that. So she puts in a lot of work to try to keep our city safe. She is a one-person show, but she's doing a fantastic job. Canine and street crimes, we're getting into Makiba's realm. But as you can see here, we wanted to add just some of the seizures that we have made. The street crimes, those are our undercover officers. Those are ones that you normally don't see, you all as a city council, but they are vital to keeping crime low and or out of the city. They're behind the scenes ensuring that those drug deals aren't happening in our parking lots, in the HEB parking lots and whatnot. So very, very hard-working crew, and part of street crimes is also canine. So you can see our canine deployments and the arrests that we've made with the canines.
Can you go back to that last slide? That that fentanyl number is disturbing. How many people could you kill with that much fentanyl?
The simplest answer is quite a few.
Thousands.
You could kill more people with that fentanyl than you could with the meth or the cocaine.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, sir.
As you also know, we are part of CTRS, Central Texas Regional SWAT. We are partnership agencies with Georgetown, Leander, and Cedar Park, which is why we know so much about their vacancies, is because we talk to them a lot. This is our 9th year ninth year since it's been operational, and we joined in 2019. So this is really good. And going back to just some of the things that we had when we had Beto's rally here, we had CTRS out with us. We had our Hanukkah celebration. We have CTRS out with us. It's a force multiplier. It gives us the ability to leave our officers kind of on patrol, but yet bring in them behind the scenes where we have undercovers in our crowds. So just another great asset that we have here. I want to point out that CTRS in 2024 conducted 47 operations. So that's a lot for a regional SWAT team, but and we're getting more. When I say we're getting more, we're growing. So it's a great thing to be a part of. Our crash and accident team, so we like to call them CAT. They get made fun of a lot, but we still call them CAT. They also include CVE, which is commercial vehicle inspection. So those are your big rigs that they're stopping to make sure that they're safe, that their rigs are up to state code. So we had 168 CVE inspections. You can see that our collision team responded to over 1,400 collisions, but we had a total of 2,480 collisions for the city. So collision and traffic also includes our accident investigators. So those are the ones at 2 a.m. if there's the major collision that we're going to call them out. We're going to have them investigate that. Advocacy liaison. Again, any type of crime and or any type of need that's needed out there. And I know Mayor Pro Tem is one of our volunteers in our advocacy liaison division. So these people, there's two people in the office, and then we rely on our volunteers. Again, want to talk about working their tails off for our residents here, our community. It is unbelievable the work that they put in and the resources that they have access to. So thank you for being out there with our officers. It should not go without saying that our advocacy liaison division, as much as they help our community, they also help our officers. They're making sure that that they're there for our officers, saying, "Hey, what do you need? What can we do for you?" Especially when we're on some of those critical calls. So thank you for that. Looking forward, this is where we're talking about our drone program. So we are in the process of getting our first drone. We haven't received it yet. It should be here in the next week or two. And then we'll start. We have two pilots that are certified through the FAA so that we can start using it and hit the ground running as soon as we get it. We're also looking at a real-time crime center. So when I was talking about those flock cameras and all of those cameras from the DFR, the drones for first response coming in, what we're looking for the future is where all of those videos, we're also moving with our 911 center where there's going to be a place to FaceTime on your phone. So if you're calling 911, you can FaceTime with our 911 dispatchers, get it to their phones, and then we can get that to the officers in the vehicle. So this real-time crime center is where it's going to all come together so our officers can have first knowledge, right? As they're responding to calls, they're seeing what's in front of them before they even get there. So something that we're looking forward to, our mental health outreach program, which is something that we're moving forward with this year, expanding our digital forensics, and then of course continuing to recruit. And I'll go back to, we're just looking for the best of the best. That's all we want here.
So, reading between the lines, it sounds like you're saying you want to add more staff next year?
To be completely honest, we do very well, right? Technology is great, right? So real-time crime centers, drones, all of that is absolutely great for us, right? You can do a lot more with less. We know that with our flock cameras, with our LPR cameras, you have another set of eyes out there. So, we're doing really well.
Okay.
So, Chief, in reference to, and I know all our police officers are superheroes, but occasionally they get sick. When you have call-ins or call-outs or whatever you call them, do you have the wherewithal to backfill or support those vacancies? And how do you do that?
Yes, sir. So each of our patrol shifts has a minimum staffing level. So we know where we need to be in order to run a smooth shift, so to speak, right? We know where our officers are not going to be running and gunning all day long, so that we keep to that minimum staffing level. I will tell you that our officers are very good. So we account for vacations, we account for trainings, we account for all of that, but we also try to account for sick because we know that some officers may call in sick. It is not. It is very rare if we fall below that minimum staffing level, and if we do, we will backfill that.
Okay.
So, but that is not an issue that we have here at this police department. Honestly, our officers come to work, to be completely honest.
Good.
That's good.
That's great to hear.
Council, any other questions?
Thank
Well,
you.
Chief, we look forward to great things, especially in the area of technology in particular, and a lot of the future policing techniques that you guys are working on. Because I can just see that getting, better and better. And I'd like for our police department to be the cutting edge department in the city and the state and the world. So
Well,
thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds like a Bearcat officer.
No, don't ask for it.
All right. All right. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Our next item, I think we have time for it, is executive session pursuant to Chapter 551.072 of the Texas Government Code. Deliberations regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, transfer, and/or sale of real property related to the 30-inch SH 130 water line project. We are in executive session. We're back from executive session. No action was taken, and our work session is adjourned.